Good morning and welcome to today's training. This is part 4 of our Introduction to Work series, and it's on an overview of resources to support the development of skills. I'll be asking you to complete a little evaluation for me at the end. It's really just kind of a feedback survey. It keeps our funders happy, keeps these trainings free of charge for you, which is a real big thing. So thank you for doing that. I'll drop that link in the chat box a little bit later on. Also, I will be sending you a copy of this slide deck, so don't feel like you need to write down everything you see. This particular training is chock full of resources. There is a link practically on every page where, or at least one, sometimes there are several links on a page. So after you have downloaded this slide deck, you're going to have an amazing resource for work readiness skills right at your fingertips. So I'll be sending that out probably in a little while, right after I finish the training. I'll go ahead and send that out to you. So my name is Sharon Blackman. I'm the Director of Training at Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans, and ours is one of 9 nonprofit family resource centers across the state. Wherever you live in Louisiana, there is an FHF center that serves your area. And of course, we offer individual help with just navigating systems. We offer specific help, with education and disability related issues. We do outreach events in the community. You hopefully see us out and around. We were at the Beignet Fest last Saturday and had a great time. And then we also do trainings like this one. Our center is located in Jefferson Parish, and we provide over 100 of these kinds of training opportunities every year on special education and disability related topics. So be sure you check out our training tab on our website, fhfofgno.org, and be sure you sign up for any of these that you think you might be interested in. Just a little commercial. This training project was originally funded through a grant from the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services, that's OSERS. Also the Rehabilitation Services Administration, the RSA, and it's a project of the Alabama Parent Education Center. The RSA Parent Center region that compiled this project includes our center in Louisiana, as well as those in Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. So it was kind of a big project. So we're about to wrap up this 4-part series on work for youth with disabilities, and I want us to learn to think about employment for youth with disabilities the same way we think of employment for anybody else. So consider this. How many jobs or careers have you had as an adult? Just think about that. If you want to drop that in the chat box, that's fine. But you know what? Gone are the days of Howard Cunningham working his whole life making keys at the hardware store to support a family of 5 while his wife is a stay-at-home mom, right? Yeah, too many to count, Tanya says. Yeah. So rarely does a person work one job their entire life. Interests change, opportunities change, needs change, and minds change too. We all change our mind. Oh, this isn't a good fit for me. I think I'll look for something else. So when a young adult with a disability quits or loses a job because it's not a good fit, do we think of that as failure, either on their part or on ours? Or do we look at it as an opportunity for change and growth? One of the big concepts that we push at Families Helping Families is called the dignity of risk. Are we really allowing and encouraging our youth with disabilities to take risks and to assume responsibility for those risks? So those are just some things for you to think of as we get started on this information. Today we'll be providing an overview of resources available to support the development of the skills we talked about last week and the skills on the Working Independently Here We Come checklist. We'll look at a variety of resources available to assist families as well as educators and other professionals who work with youth and young adults with disabilities to help develop the skills necessary to seek a job, get the job, and then keep the job. So before we go too far, let's look at some of the acronyms that you're going to hear today. I try to define them as I go. Sometimes I miss, but they will be on the pages that you see coming. VR is for vocational rehabilitation. LRS is Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, and that's Louisiana's vocational rehab agency. WIOA, WIOA, is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Intact is National Technical Assistance Center on Transition. All of it, and this is a great resource, Intact. I think I have it linked later. Pre-ETS refers to Pre-Employment Transition Services. JAN is the Job Accommodations Network, and then RSA that I've already mentioned is the Rehabilitation Services Administration. So some of these, should look familiar if you joined me last week for part 3, where we talked about the skills that are needed to work and to be successful with employment. So all of these sections that we go through are just going to be recapping what we did last week when we talked about the skills. Only today we're going to be talking about resources that are available to help in those skill areas. So first we're going to look at organization and time management skills. And we're going to look at a variety of resources that are available to assist with developing those skills in youth and young adults with disabilities. The first resource we'll look at is the Eisenhower Matrix. And full disclosure, I had never heard of this. Maybe some of you have, but it's apparently a pretty good time management um, to-do list management tool for anybody to use. It's also called the Urgent Important Matrix, and it helps turn an abstract list of things that you need to do into something a little more concrete. So first you create a table or a spreadsheet with 4 quadrants. You can just jot this down on a napkin if you need to. But in quadrant 1, which I have in red, that's for tasks that are both important and urgent. Quadrant 2, which is in yellow, is for tasks that are important but not urgent. Quadrant 3 is blue. That's for tasks that are not urgent and not important. And then quadrant 4, which is green. I actually have these confused on my notes, but the green quadrant is for tasks that are not important, but they are still urgent. I know that sounds kind of contradictory, but the first thing is to assign tasks to the appropriate quadrant. So you need to have a list of things in your mind that need to get done, right? Assign them to the appropriate quadrant. And that format helps you to prioritize and organize tasks to be done. Now, if you don't want to do a quadrant, a cube on this, you can just jot them down and even color code them with a highlighter if that makes more sense. Or, put them in lists, in different lists and check them off. But the do first in the red box, these are important tasks that should be completed immediately. The yellow box are things that need to be scheduled. Those are important things, but may not be urgent. So they should be scheduled to be completed. Like if you're thinking about your bills and you think, oh, I need to pay the power bill, but it's not due for another few days. So yes, it needs to be scheduled to be done, but I don't have to do it this minute. In the green box, you're going to delegate. So if a task is less important, but it still needs to be done, consider whether that's something that can be done by someone else and delegate it. And then in blue is kind of like if the task is not important and it's not urgent, does it really need to be done? So those are that's something to think about for things that you may want to do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be done. So, it's up to you whether you do it or not. So some tips for using the Eisenhower matrix. Putting things on a to-do list frees your mind. I'm a list maker. I'm a spreadsheet maker. It frees my mind because I know I won't forget it because it's written down. But always question what is worth doing first and what needs to be done first. Try limiting yourself to no more than about 8 tasks on, under a category. That just becomes too much. And before adding additional tasks, make sure you complete the most important ones first. You should maintain separate lists for professional work tasks and for personal tasks, if that's at all possible. Don't let other people define your priorities. And then try not to procrastinate too much. When it's on the list, it needs to get done. And I'm one of those that I make my list and I'll put a little box out next to it, and I get the supreme satisfaction of making a check a check mark in the box as the things get done. So we do that on Saturdays when my daughter and I are doing our chores. So the link at the bottom of this slide is for more information on using the Eisenhower matrix. Now, this slide looks at some tips based on the online article called Time Management for Kids with LD by Leslie Jossel, I guess is probably how she says her name. The first tip is one that we can all benefit from. In a busy world full of commitments, it's important to keep up with events. So Jossel recommends using a planner, either a paper planner or an electronic planner, to record all class assignments, after school activities, work commitments, plans with family and friends, all of that stuff. A planner helps you to keep track of when things are due or when they need to happen, and it helps you avoid overscheduling or, scheduling things at the same time. The second tip is to start with the hardest job first, the toughest task. She recommends that we teach our young adults with disabilities to start with the hardest or the longest or the least liked activity first, so that it will provide a feeling of satisfaction when we have completed that task and we're able to move on to more enjoyable things. It'll also prevent you from procrastinating over that one thing and not getting anything else done. So that's kind of a good tip to share with our young adults. The third tip is to break tasks up into achievable and manageable parts. So taking a long task or project and dividing it up into steps or shorter tasks can make that task seem less overwhelming. I do that sometimes with my daughter in cleaning her room. For some reason, go clean your room. It's just this monumental thing in her mind. And so if I say, I need you to make your bed, put away all of your stuffed animals, pick up everything off the floor, dust all the furniture, empty your trash. If I break it up into those tasks, then she can do one thing at a time and she knows when it's done, which is important. The fourth tip is to estimate time. Determine how much time it's going to take to get each task completed, and keeping track of the time it takes for certain tasks will assist you in planning for future tasks. And then the last thing is use timers. Using a timer or a buzzer to keep track of time can help a young person to self-monitor, and it can help them know when transitions are going to take place as well, which can be important. Smartphones are equipped with timers and other reminder apps that can be wonderful resources. I'm a Google Calendar girl, and I have my home Google Calendar and my work Google Calendar, and I create tasks on my Google Calendar. You can create events. You can also create tasks, and nobody else can see your tasks if you have a shared, if people can see your calendar. Your tasks are private. And you can keep up with those. You can make them repeating if there's something you have to do every week or every month, you know, um, and then you can mark them completed as you go. So it's very helpful. These next resources are going to look at how we can build self-determination and self-advocacy skills in youth and young adults with disabilities. And that's a critical skill to develop so that people can make decisions for themselves. They can ask for help when they need it, and they can stand up for their rights. So those are some very important things to do. Teaching self-determination and self-advocacy, though, should begin way before the age where they're going to have to use those skills. They should be taught early in order to help develop decision-making skills and goal-setting skills. You see the little girl in the picture holding up her dress. That's one of the things, that we did early, was to give a couple of choices. I mean, you gotta not just say go pick what you want to wear, because a 4-year-old is gonna have a mind of her own. But you can give her some outfits to choose from that would be appropriate for what you're doing that day and for the weather. you know. So allow children with disabilities to make choices about simple life matters from a very early age, and that can be what clothes to wear, what to make for lunch, and then expand the complexity of those decisions as they mature. Just be sure that all of the choices that you give them are appropriate, so that little Marco doesn't go to school in 30-degree weather wearing his swim trunks, that kind of thing. And we all know that once Marco chooses, it's going to be not easy to get him off of that. So just be sure that you do that. Set short-term goals for kids to meet and work with them to create a plan to meet those goals. An example might be saving up to purchase something they want and then creating ways to raise funds or to save money to get that. Encourage participation of people with disabilities in their IEP meetings from a very early age to familiarize them with that process. Begin in the early elementary years where they can come into a meeting and just introduce themselves or share something about themselves. They can provide introduction of team members as well. And these little steps can become more complex as the child matures. And eventually, they can even lead their own IEP meetings, later on. Teach self-determination and self-advocacy skills within high school transition classes and through pre-employment transition services provided by vocational rehabilitation counselors. Those are some great goals for IEPs and for transition. So the next few slides will have some resources that can be used a little more formally to develop these skills. Choice Maker is a free curriculum resource available from the Zero Center at the University of Oklahoma. I'll be mentioning them several times. They have a lot of great resources. The Choice Maker Self-Determination Transition Curriculum teaches middle school and secondary students the self-determination skills needed to be successful in school as well as adult life. And it has three strands. It has choosing educational, vocational, and personal goals. It has expressing goals by active student involvement in IEP meetings, and then it has taking action to attain IEP goals. There are 6 instructional packages to teach the skills that are identified in the curriculum. Educators and family members of individuals with disabilities can download the Choice Maker lesson materials at no cost. So you can feel free to modify and improve the lessons. They only ask that if you do that, you email them with your modified versions and suggestions so that they could be considered for posting for others to use. So it's a great resource. And it can be downloaded again and modified as needed. That link is on your slide, so you can check that out once you get your slide deck. The Me curriculum is also free from the Zara Center at the University of Oklahoma, and it was developed to help educators teach students critical transition skills, including self-determination and self-advocacy. It's composed of 10 units. It includes lesson plans, student materials, teacher materials, and even additional resources. The topics that it includes, some of them are on your slide. Learning about special education, which you'd be surprised how many kids, by the time they get to high school, don't even understand that they receive special education services or that they have an IEP. So, learning about special education, improving communication skills, self-awareness, advocating for my needs, in high school and after high school. So, those are some really, really great units that they have that you can read up on and figure out ways that you can help your young adult or your teen to work on those skills. It's also free and you can modify it as needed as well. Again, it's from the Zero Center. Whose future is it anyway? Again, free from the Zero Center at the University of Oklahoma. It's a transition planning process that emphasizes student preferences, their needs, and their interests. And it provides opportunities for students with disabilities to explore issues of self-awareness and to acquire problem solving and decision making, goal setting, and small group communication skills. The outcome of this process is that students learn how to be meaningfully involved in their transition planning process. So the Whose Future Is It Anyway curriculum is based on the conviction that students who are involved in planning for their future will be more likely to be full participants in the planned educational activities that result from that plan. And students of all abilities can learn the skills to be involved. And students who believe that their voice will be heard will be more likely to participate in the planning process and ongoing educational decisions. And of course, they're going to do better in school if they are part of the decision-making process. It is their life, it is their future. So the section titles, as you can see on the screen, getting to know you, making decisions, how to get what you need, goals, objectives in the future, communicating, and then thank you, honorable chairperson. So you've got to look it up just to see what that's all about. Again, the lessons are free to download, so that's a great resource for you to look up. The I'm Determined project was funded and developed by the Virginia Department of Education, and this project focuses on providing direct instruction, models, and opportunities to practice skills associated with self-determined behavior. This project facilitates youth, especially those with disabilities, to undertake a measure of control in their lives, and it helps them to set and steer the course rather than just being a silent passenger. The project's materials are based on research around three psychological needs: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. And when you can experience, they call it CAR, the acronym for competence, autonomy, and relatedness. When you can experience high levels of those three, CAR, it opens up greater opportunities to experience greater self-determination and well-being. And this project also has resources for the youth, for educators and families, and of course it is free, and that's through the Virginia Department of Education. That is also linked there on this slide. Now this 44-page guide for parents called Fostering Self-Determination Among Children and Youth with Disabilities, Ideas from Parents for Parents. It provides a menu of ideas to draw upon as parents consider how best to promote self-determination with their children with disabilities. Another free resource for you. It has 18 broad categories of ideas as well as a listing of additional resources. So that is linked there on your slide. It's my future, planning for what I want in my life, a self-directed planning process. Now, this is a 316-page handbook, and it's designed to be used by youth with disabilities. It provides activities to help them become more independent, more able to make decisions and set goals, and get others to help them plan, to work toward the things they want as an adult. The manual uses pictures and bold graphics to attract the youthful audience as they create a Life Visions book. It is free to download as well. So now let's move on to resources for safety skills. Safety skills can be kind of problematic to teach because they're best learned in the environment where they're going to be needed, right? Some of the best ways to teach about safety skills related to work are within a career or technical education class through job shadowing and within supervised work experiences. If those types of experiences are not available, then you can do some role-playing activities in the classroom or at home. Those types of activities are especially useful for reporting injuries to supervisors and calling for emergency assistance. Those are some things that need to be covered. Some work situations related to food handling require a Serve Safe certification, so taking the online training for that might be an additional resource as well. Youth at Work Talking Safety is a curriculum from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention website, and it's another free curriculum designed to teach core health and safety skills and knowledge. It covers basic information relevant to pretty much any occupation. The information is state specific, has the curriculum, it has PowerPoints and a video for each area. And the curriculum presents essential information and career readiness skills through a focus on 8 core competencies. The topics include young worker injuries, finding hazards, making the job safer, emergencies at work, knowing your rights and responsibilities, and taking action. So that is linked there on your screen. We'll move on now to resources related to financial management, which these can be used from an early age, some of these, which is really great. The hands-on banking curriculum is available in both English and Spanish. It offers free, non-commercial content. In other words, it's not associated with a particular bank. And it includes lesson plans, instructor guides, student courses, activities, lessons, quizzes, the whole thing. There are three separate courses. There's one for elementary school, there's one for middle school, and there's one for high school. The high school course curriculum covers the ones that I've listed on your screen. Um, it's all about earning money, spending money, saving and investing, what to do about credit, and school and money. For the purposes of our checklist items, the earning money course would be especially important. The courses have narration if needed, and as part of the resources available for educators, there is a hands-on banking experience, a real-world money management simulation that's designed for high school students and young adults, and the site has all the components that are needed to create that simulation. So those are some exciting money management uh, activities. Bonsai Teen is an award-winning interactive content platform, and it teaches real-world finance. It's designed for teens ages 13 to 18, and it has students to tackle realistic financial dilemmas as they strive to earn money for college registration. It's a game. The game guides students through financial basics as well as complicated topics like credit cards, auto loans, and insurance. Kind of sounds like the game of life if you want to know the truth. But some topics in the Bonsai Team, excuse me, include borrowing, budgeting, which includes information on income, income taxes, withholdings, those kinds of things. So borrowing, budgeting, setting goals, and of course spending, which is our favorite. The platform is free. It does require you to sign up. You can also order free printed booklets that complement the teen course. And note that it may require the parent or caregiver or the professional to create an account and then assign students to the account. Okay, so that's all part of it. Don't be alarmed if you get to that and you realize that you've got to put in some information. Another financial management resource that was designed specifically for people with disabilities is Sense and Sensibility, a guide to money management. This is a website-based program from the Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, and it's designed to help people with disabilities and their parents and their advocates to learn about managing money. It's now in its 8th edition, and it has added chapters on planning for my future, as well as identity theft, which is a real issue, especially for our folks with disabilities if they get their name too much out there and they don't keep an eye on things. So they, our kids with disabilities really need to have some folks around them protecting them from things that may creep up that they don't understand. But other topics include money fundamentals, money mapping, which is just budgeting, saving, benefits, and working, protecting my money, credit, a home of my own, assistive technology, adult decision making, and then are you ready to go? Also available is a downloadable manual. It's in both English and Spanish, as well as an educator companion manual. And the website corresponds to the manual. Study Money is the online companion to Sense and Sensibility, and it can be found at the same link that you have here on your slide. Now we're going to move on to resources related to job seeking. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA. This whole slide is like a study in acronyms, y'all. So I'm gonna I'm gonna take it slow, but they're all on your screen, okay? WIOA requires vocational rehabilitation agencies to set aside a portion of their funds to provide pre-ET services or pre-employment transition services to students with disabilities who are eligible or may be eligible for vocational rehab services. This website from the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, or NTACT, provides information about the pre-employment transition services available through WIOA. There are several links to the resources that you see on your screen. There's the Intact homepage, the Intact page with all the different topics that you can explore, and the link to LRS, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, which, as I said, is our vocational rehabilitation services provider. So all those links are on this slide. My Pocket Resume is a document where youth and young adults can put information that they need for completing job applications in a booklet form. And then they can take that document with them as they complete job applications on site or on the computer, just to ensure that the information is correct and complete. And it also has a checklist of things to know or do for job interviews. And when it's correctly set up to print, it prints out as a little booklet. So that's handy dandy because you always have stuff that you forget if you're filling out applications. This slide provides information about the Rehabilitation Service Administration's program page. That's the RSA that I mentioned earlier. The page has links to disability employment programs, advocacy programs, independent living programs, um, technical assistance centers, training programs, demonstration programs, and underserved populations. So a lot of links on this slide. This is a pamphlet written by the Social Security Administration, and it provides information on those who get SSI, or Supplemental Security Income. Talks about what they need to know when they turn 18, and those topics include age 18 redetermination, and that's when, when my son reached 18, there was we had to fill out a lot of paperwork. They had to do kind of a little evaluation screening with his doctors and stuff to be sure that he still did have a disability that deemed him eligible for SSI. Other topics are Social Security work incentives, student earned income exclusions, just all kinds of things that the SSA um, is, knowledgeable on, and things that they provide, services and stuff. So that booklet is linked on this slide as well. Now, here are some different websites that provide job listings. And these are the sites that people typically go to when they're looking for a job. Some of these I honestly didn't even know about. I knew about Indeed and Monster. Um, those are pretty much the only ones I knew about. But there are several, and these are all live links again um, when you download the slide deck. Indeed is probably the most used overall for job seekers. There's Monster, Flex Jobs, which is a good site to locate remote or flexible or hybrid work from home. There's LinkedIn, Snag a Job, which finds jobs based on when you want to work, where the job is located, and how much they offer. There are map-based research or search results for that one. Ability Jobs is the first and largest employment website for job seekers with disabilities. CareerOneStop.org, and then there is usajobs.gov. Individuals with disabilities can apply and compete for any job for which they're eligible and meet the qualifications, but may also be eligible for a special hiring authority. This site is used by the federal government for hires, so it's a good one to know about. Next, we're going to talk about some resources related to the job keeping skill. So after you get that job, keeping it. The local vocational rehabilitation counselor The LRS counselor can play a vital role in helping kids and young adults with disabilities to develop workplace readiness skills. And that includes training to develop social skills, independent living skills, and instruction in self-advocacy. All of these are skills needed to help a person to keep their job. For more information, you can see the Independent Futures That Work Project's tip sheet on understanding vocational rehabilitation skills, and that is linked at the bottom of this slide. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm a little bit congested, so I'm having issues keeping my voice hydrated. The tip sheet, though, that's linked there provides information on who is eligible for vocational rehab services, what an IPE, an individualized plan for employment, has to include, what services vocational rehab offers, what pre-employment transition services they offer. And at the end of the tip sheet are links to those VR agencies in the states that I mentioned earlier who developed this project. But LRS is the one for Louisiana. This resource is a brief YouTube video from JAN, Job Accommodations Network, which is a free service offered through the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment. The video describes services available through JAN, and it's only about 3.5 minutes long. So that'll be an easy, quick thing for you to watch. Skills to Pay the Bills is a video series again. It's a curriculum designed by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability and Employment Policy. The curriculum focuses on teaching soft skills or workforce readiness skills to youth and young adults with disabilities. The videos are targeted to youth ages about 14 to 21 in both school and out of school environments. And some of those topics include things that we've been talking about: communication, critical thinking and problem solving, enthusiasm and attitude, networking, professionalism, teamwork. And the videos are only about 2 to 3 minutes long. So those can be a great resource for you to watch with your student or your child with a disability. Now let's look at some very important resources for communication skills. I know a lot of folks without disabilities who could benefit from some help in this area. So let's dive in. These tip sheets are excellent. They were created by the Independent Futures That Work project. There's one for email, one for texting, and one for cell phone use. And you can see the topics covered by each tip sheet on the slide. I've linked the tip sheet at the bottom of each column, but just look at those. The email tip sheet. Is an email appropriate? You know, things to consider. The use of subject lines, using the to CC and BCC lines and what those mean, email length, the body of the email, the bottom one, reply versus reply all. That's my favorite, and I really need to circulate this one again at the office. But anyway, there's a texting tip sheet that's really good. When is texting not appropriate? You know, these are very basic things. You know, texting with professionals. You know, if you have a texting relationship with your supervisor, what is appropriate and not appropriate to be sending by text? A cell phone tip sheet is the third one there. Only use your cell phone when it's appropriate to do so. Using your cell phone in a respectful manner. And then voicemail as a helpful tool when you cannot answer your phone. Those are just some very basic things to go through with your young adult or teen with a disability. Very important. And I hope that it covers, and I don't remember when I looked at this, but I hope it covers the use of the, oh goodness, now I'm drawing a total blank, y'all. I've got brain fog today. Speaker. I hope it covers the use of speakerphone in public, because that is just one of my all-time pet peeves, but I digress. An additional tip sheet from the Independent Futures That Work project is on do's and don'ts for communicating on social media. And this is a great one that's lit, it's linked there. These are, thank you, Tanya. She said she's the same way with the speakerphone. That drives me bananas. Um, so these tip sheets you'll see are easy to print out. They're like little infographics, so they're easy to print out like on a front and back page for you to distribute, and they're easy also to email. But very nice little tip sheets. So the communicating on social media, things that we really need to go over as soon as our kids get a social media account, which we need to push back as long as possible, okay? But know what should be a public versus a private post or message. They need to know what it means to make a public post or a private post. How to log out of your account if you use your social media on a public computer, sending and accepting friend requests only to and from people you actually know. I've been going over this stuff with my 11-year-old who does not have social media, but she does play some games on her tablet. And I have discovered that there are people that she's playing these games with. And now we have the rule about you only play this game with kids that you actually know at school, because, and I've explained to her how much she's opening herself up to adults who may not have the purest of motives. And it's terrible to have to talk to an 11-year-old about those things. But these are things that we need our kids with disabilities to understand before they get social media accounts. Um, Being respectful of others' feelings and opinions. And right as we're coming off of an election season, holy cow, I unfriended and blocked a lot of people and snoozed a lot more people, uh, just because of political stuff. Life's too short for me to have to deal with all these political posts. I don't post them and I don't want to read them. So, anyway, some of the don't tips that are on this tip sheet: don't post embarrassing videos or photos of you or someone else. Don't be a bully. Don't click on just every little thing. So these are some really good helps and things to go over with your young adult, and I'll let you read those on your own time, but very good tip sheets there. Now, our last section is on building personal and interpersonal skills. And because the resources are very similar for both areas, they share a lot of the same resources. So we're combining those two. Overcoming Obstacles is a free, research-based curriculum that provides tools to teach youth life skills. It contains a lot of activity-based lessons that cover more than 30 targeted skills. The curriculum is tailored by age and grade level. It's available in multiple languages, and it has accompanying family guides to support learning at home. So this is great for educators as well as parents. For for interpersonal skills, the high school level has several areas that relate and can be found in part two and part three of the curriculum. And those cover the topics of communication, decision making, goal setting, resolving conflicts, which is huge, problem solving, and then on the job. There's another document related to the curriculum for parents and caregivers with older children that provide activities that teach some of these skills. For personal skills, the curriculum covers topics that relate under part one about creating a positive environment, and part three about resolving conflicts, problem solving, skills for school and beyond, a game plan for work, and then on the job. So those are some great tools. Overcoming obstacles. So, is your head spinning yet? I know this is a lot of information. On this page is just a couple of resources that I thought you would find helpful as you begin or continue getting ready for that transition to adulthood and working. Hopefully, that is your dream and your goal for your child who has a disability, no matter their age. And even if they're only in kindergarten now, it's already time to start working on those skills. There are things we can do at home to start preparing our kids to be adults. So, doing laundry and doing chores and waking up with an alarm clock and telling time and getting themselves dressed and out to school on time or what, those are just simple things. Doing their homework without being asked, if that's possible. Um, some of those kinds of things that we can really be giving our kids more and more responsibility. If you are doing everything for your child, you are not doing them any favors. So start changing your mindset if that's the case and start getting them to be more independent. Chances are they're going to outlive you. And so you need for them to be as independent as possible. I mean, that's just kind of the hard facts. You need to teach them independence, not teaching them. You don't need to be teaching them to be dependent on you. So hopefully, and if you need any support with these things, we are here at Families Helping Families and would love to help you brainstorm ideas or go through any of these resources with you if you need that. If you need to get into contact with us, you can reach us all over the place, and these links will be live. You can email us or call or catch us on social media. All right, I'm going to drop the link for our little survey in the chat box right now, and if you wouldn't mind just clicking on that before you buzz out of the webinar, I would really appreciate it. Also, if you need a certificate of attendance for today, that's going to be in that link as well that you can request that. Now, if you have questions that you don't want to voice here, please feel free to contact me at another time. My email is there, my phone number is there. If you have questions right now that you would like to ask, raise your hand and I'll open your mic. I don't think you'll be able to unmute yourself, but any any comments or questions, you can put them in the chat box or you can raise your hand. Dana says, so much great info. I feel like I've dropped the ball with my 17-year-old, but this will get us caught up. You haven't dropped the ball. It's okay. You're going to start when you're going to start, and he's going to be fine or she's going to be fine. How do I print the slides? You can download them, and they will print as a PDF. I think that they should print one page per page. I'm not positive on that. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or hands raised? Anybody? It is a lot of great information. Thank you so much for your feedback on that. It is great information. I put these on the slides and developed them for our use, but I didn't put together all this information. So I'll definitely pass that along to the people who did. And thank you so much for your attention. And okay, let's see. Annette says download from where I will be emailing you the slides. So they will be wherever you receive your email. If you can print them from your phone or if you can get on your email account on a computer or a laptop, then you can print from there.